Welcome back to Morning Joy, where truth matters. And would it be surprising to you that despite advancements in technology, artificial intelligence, convenience, and material wealth, that the rates of depression and anxiety are on the rise? My goodness, in the United States alone, approximately 19.1% of adults have had an anxiety disorder within the last year, and those are just the ones that are accounted for. I'm your host, Keith Downey, and in a world obsessed with achieving happiness through consumerism, power, pleasure, we often find ourselves feeling more empty than fulfilled, right? That's where the Beatitudes come into play. You see, they offer a different path. Instead of promising, earthly rewards, they promise something much deeper, a more lasting joy that comes from aligning our hearts with God's will. Tim, do you remember when Louisiana made it a law to have schools publicly display the 10 Commandments in all the classrooms?
Yeah, I remember you covered that here on the news.
Yeah, I think we talked about it too. I think they could have done much better. I think they could have used the Beatitudes. Could you imagine that?
Yeah, now that's a countercultural kind of thing there, because blessed are the poor. I mean, wow.
I know. And that's the thing. Like, I firmly believe that the Beatitudes are the ultimate countercultural blueprint for getting us to heaven, for sainthood. Now, as a refresher for all of us, because I don't assume or want to expect to have everybody know the 8 Beatitudes committed to memory. So here we go. Number 1, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the land. Blessed are they who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the clean in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. And blessed are they who are persecuted for the sake of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Now, granted, that's 8. We could talk all about all 8, but that would probably require much more time than the time allotted. So let's focus on the first 3. I feel like they're quite misunderstood. These are the blessed are the poor in spirit, blessed are they who mourn, and blessed are the meek. Now, the blessed are the poor in spirit. I mean, just looking at it at a base glance here, it's quite easy to see those who are experiencing actual physical poverty. But what about spiritual poverty? And then I remember reading these back when I was a kid. I was slightly confused. Why would someone who is poor in spirit be blessed? I don't understand. But come to find out, true poverty is recognizing our dependence on God and letting go of these material things, getting rid of all these earthly attachments, especially ones that keep us away from prayer or maybe continue that boredom like Debbie and Adam mentioned before. Or maybe they keep us distracted, maybe on a flight, and we don't catch someone's family that needs to be seated together and we're just so focused on our phones. I don't know, Tim. I'm curious to know, because out of the 2 of us, you are more Bible learned than I am. Was there any confusion when you were learning the Beatitudes about the poor in spirit?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's still, even to this day, I have to catch myself and remind myself what poor in spirit means. And it is that unattachment. So if you happen to have lots of wealth, that doesn't mean that you are not blessed, because right. You can still be poor in spirit if you are not attached to that wealth. And that's just something that it took me a long time to learn.
Yeah, and the thing, too, I thought, too, when I heard the poor in spirit, I thought spiritual sloth, which kind of relates back to what Debbie and Adam are talking about. But that doesn't necessarily mean that. So I just wanted to bring that up because I know it can kind of be confusing with some of these Beatitudes. But the second one...
I think in the book of the Gospel of Luke, it actually just says, blessed are the poor.
Really?
Yeah, and it's in Matthew where it says, blessed are the poor in spirit. It clarifies, now it doesn't just mean poor. It means, you can have that attitude of poverty towards your wealth. Yeah.
Interesting. I see that. That's why I love our converts. You're the best, Tim. You're always so much more educated in the Bible than I am, I can at least say. But the second one, blessed are they who mourn. And I don't know where this began, but when did mourning become like a bad thing or a non-masculine thing and very, very negative almost? Like a healthy grieving is a process of healing and growth. And this is actually something we've discussed on the show previously with Dr. Mary Healy. No pun intended there. I highly recommend checking it out if you missed it. You just go onto the YouTube channel, GRN Online, search for the Morning Joy interview playlists on that. It was that interview with Dr. Mary was in March, and she goes really in detail on it. And for those that are currently mourning, recommend that and checking her out in general. She'll help get you through that. But mourning could lead to a few things, right? It could lead to empathy, compassion, humility. Obviously, we can recognize our own vulnerability and dependence on others. Kind of like, I don't know, a sense in cultivating a more compassionate heart. For instance, one of my cousins last month passed away unexpectedly. Now, I wasn't very close to him as an adult, but it not only reminded me of my own mortality and the state of my own soul, but kind of also reminded me how merciful God is, more than we can ever imagine. But it also reminded me that I certainly never, ever want to take his mercy for granted. Kind of like how sometimes I took it for granted receiving Holy Communion during, the COVID experience. I never wanted that to happen again. Now, the third one, the blessed are the meek. This is an interesting one. Tim, when you think of the word meek, do you think of strength?
No, not usually.
Yeah, not usually. I'm the same way. Like, I had to really dive deep into this one. Because once again, meekness is usually misunderstood as weakness, but it's a strength under control. Think of it like as a gentle spirit that's firm in its conviction. An example, meekness can be a parent dealing with a toddler who is melting down in the middle of Mass during the consecration. It's happened to me. It's awful.
That's a good example. That's a good example. I never thought of that as like meekness, but wow, when the parent has to really empty themselves and control themselves, and then guide their toddler into let's soothe you and get you into a place where you can actually be yourself.
Right.
Wow, that is meekness.
I also witnessed I almost said meekness a few weeks back at my own parish. And actually, I want to talk about this further on Friday a bit more, but there was a rowdy person at Mass. They were escorted out by a few ushers peacefully at the moment. But then outside, things got a little heated. This individual started to physically threaten the ushers. And mind you, these ushers, they're like police, border patrol. Like, you're not going to want to mess with these guys, right? Because they could have easily taken this guy down, given to his agitation and just physically remove, they could have totally do that. And I wouldn't have blamed them whatsoever. But I was moved by this, but they were resilient. They were calm. It was a sight to see. And I was kind of there. I was there, really just to be there for, I guess you'd call, spiritual protection. So I just grabbed out my rosary, and I was physically there, making sure he wouldn't run away, but I was just praying for peace there. But now I know while we only went through 3 of those particular Beatitudes, this is why I believe these are a powerful blueprint to live counterculturally. If we really take these Beatitudes to heart, we can show others what our Catholic faith is. And that's kind of what Catholics do, right? We go against the grain, of society, the culture, the world. And while the world around us changes constantly, we see it every day in the headlines with Matt Maloney, we, the church, do not change, right? Truth does not change. People may try to do it, but it usually comes out, right? The truth always comes out. And that's one of the many reasons why Catholicism is so attractive. so attractive to many people, many young people out there. They're seeking truth, they're seeking authenticity, and there's no other place to find it than Jesus and, of course, the church he instituted. So what about you? How are you going to be countercultural this week? Are you going to remove the headphones from your ears before you take flight? Or are you going to be more aware of your surroundings and see exactly what's happening during Mass? Obviously, you don't have to do that one. You're not to be the protector there. But we actually, speaking of that, we're going to be talking on Friday an apostolate that has been rising out of the Diocese of Phoenix. It's called the Porters of St. Joseph. It's going to be very interesting because this group are there to help not only protect the Blessed Sacrament, but also those who are parishioners, those in the pew. So that way we don't have to worry about what's going on and focus really what's happening on the Holy Mass. So I hope that spoke to you. I hope this whole show has spoke to you in one manner, just because it's so important that we really do get back to the basics. And that's the whole point of Morning Joy, where truth matters, is getting back to the basics. Tim, you had something?
I think it's really kind of radical living. It's not normal. It's radical.
Radical.
And radically positive.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with you. It's completely radical than what society is trying to shove down our throats. We just have to kind of dust them off our shoulders and keep continuing a life of Christ. So, wow. That is it for Morning Joy, where truth matters. Now, a couple of things. If maybe you're just tuning in now and you missed the entire show, that's okay. We've got you covered. Just search Morning Joy Radio on YouTube. You'll find the entire show, almost 2 hours worth of Morning Joy. But if you are now going to be listening to the Holy Mass coming up next, or maybe you're dropping your kids off at school, you need to obviously give that full attention. We get it. But those who are sticking around for the after show Clubhouse, stay tuned. We're going to be switching gears here in a second. And if you're new to this, just search Morning Joy Radio on YouTube. That's kind of the biggest community right now that we have. Or just stay tuned if you're on Twitter, so and so forth. But hey, God bless. Make it a joyful day. We'll see you bright and early tomorrow on Morning Joy.
This has been Morning Joy, where truth matters, hosted by Keith Downey. Take some joy with you today. Visit grnonline.com/joy to listen again, share a segment, or answer the question of the day. That's grnonline.com/joy.